Hey guys, so in this PowerPoint we're going to talk about volume and how to find it. Um, it's not going to be over, spheres and cylinders and all that other stuff. And this one it's only prisms and pyramids. And for each one of those you either have triangular or rectangular prisms or pyramids. So that really cuts down on how much we're having to learn for volume right now. So here's the definition. How much space an object has or can hold, and in parentheses fill up. So if a bucket could hold 3 cubic meters of water, that's its volume, because you could fill it up with that much water. And volume has 3 measurements: length, width, and height. So answers will always be cubed, and that's this number right here. So whenever we had area, whatever our unit of measurement was squared. So let's say we had an answer of 4 inches, and it was area. That would be 4 inches squared, but now with volume, it's cubed. That's what that 3 means. It's to the third power. It has 3 dimensions. That's an easy way to remember it. Area is only 2-dimensional, so it's squared. Volume has 3 dimensions, so it's cubed. And this is how we find volume. This one over here, that is for prisms. This one right here, that is for pyramids. The only difference is this 1/3 right here. Okay? The capital B means the same thing for each, and the H means the same thing for each. The only thing that changes is that 1/3. Kind of like the difference between rectangle area for rectangle and area for triangles. We know a triangle is just 1/2 of base times height because it's half of a rectangle. Well, this one over here is 1/3 of base times height, so pyramids have 1/3 the volume of prisms. That's basically what it's telling you right there. And this capital B is the area of the base. Okay? So our base will always have 2 dimensions, and it will always be either a rectangle or a triangle, which we happen to know how to find the area of. So this one's kind of like a 2-step problem. You will find out what your area of the base is, plug it in for the capital B, and then multiply by whatever the height is. So you might have to use height twice. Make sure you don't get that confused. And that's what that contains 2 numbers means. The capital B has length, or base, and height. And this is the gist of this whole slide, or this whole PowerPoint. You have 4 questions you have to ask yourself, and if you can answer all 4 questions, you have all the information that you need to find volume. First, you have to ask yourself if it's a prism or a pyramid. Pyramids are the pretty obvious ones. They only have 1 base, and they have 4 edges that come together to form a point. So if you look at this pyramid right here, you see that it has this base down here, which looks like it's going to be a square or a rectangle, same thing. And then it has 4 points that all come together to a single vertex. And then there's one on the other side that we can't see. That is a pyramid. This over here is a triangular prism. Okay? It's easy to get the 2 confused because you think of triangles when you think of pyramids, but this is a prism. The reason it is a prism is because it has 2 bases. It has this triangular base over here, and then the one on the other side. So as you can see, if you were to bring this up here, and then this side right here is on the bottom, that has 2 bases. They will try to confuse you by laying it on its rectangular side down here. That is not the base. That is not a rectangular prism. And that's another clue they'll give you. The name of the shape will always be the base, or the shape of the base is always in the name of the whole 3D figure. So rectangular prisms and rectangular pyramids, they have rectangular bases. Triangular pyramids and triangular prisms, you guessed it, they have triangular bases. So even though literally the bottom of this shape is it's laying on a rectangular face, it's still not a rectangular prism. You have to go by you have to go by the name. And triangular prisms are the only ones where that will happen. So make sure you remember that special case for rectangular prisms. Always in your head, just imagine that it's flipped up, and that then instead of laying lengthwise, it's standing up to where it's tall. So you got to ask yourself if it's a prism or a pyramid. And then once you know if it's a prism or pyramid, you have to ask yourself if you know the correct volume formula for which shape it is. We know pyramids have 1/3 base times height, or 1/3 times the area of the base times the height. And prisms are area of the base times the height. And then once you know that, you have to ask yourself if you know the shape of the base. Right now, for these prisms and pyramids that we're working with, it will always be either a rectangle or a triangle. And then once you know that, we know the area formula for the base. Or you got to ask yourself if you know. We know for rectangles, it's base times height. For triangles, it's base times height divided by 2. So all of these are prisms. All of those are prisms. All of these down here are triangles. So right here, up here, they're just showing you rectangular prisms. And then down here you have rectangular triangles, and then you have rectangular pyramids, and then right here you have triangular pyramids. So now you know what they all look like. And this is just repeating what it said on the other slide. So if it's a rectangular prism or a rectangular pyramid, doesn't matter. If their base is a rectangle, you use base equals base times height. Same thing for triangles or triangular bases. Doesn't matter if it's a prism or a pyramid. If its base looks like a triangle, you're going to use base times height divided by 2 to find the area of the base. So let's look at this one. Okay, so it's already got the 4 questions listed. So prism or pyramid? Well, this is obviously not a pyramid, so it has to be a prism. And by the looks of it, by the looks of its base, remember the base is down here, that looks like a rectangle. It doesn't matter if it's a square or a rectangle, you still just use base times height to find the area of the base. So we know it's a prism. We know the volume formula is just going to be base times height. The base shape, that's going to be a rectangle, and then the base formula. Actually, so this is supposed to be a capital B, and then this is lowercase b. Base times height. So let's do that. Let's go through the process. And sorry for my handwriting. Hopefully it's legible enough for you to understand it. So we know the formula for the base is base times height. The base of our rectangle down here is 8, and it has a height of 6. So 8 times 6 equals 48. And that equals the area of our base. And we know the volume formula is just capital B, or capital B stands for base of the area of the base for the whole 3D figure, times the height. Well, we know the height of the rectangular prism, or how tall it is, or how high it is off the ground is 4 centimeters. So we're just going to do volume equals the area of our base, so 48, times 4. So 48 times 4 just equals 192. And that's going to be centimeters cubed. That's a heck of a 3 right there, ain't it? But that's how you solve for it. So let's go to the next one. And you will repeat this process on every single volume problem. You will always find the area of the base, multiply it by the height. The only difference is you have different formulas for volume. For prisms, it's 1/3, or pyramids, it's 1/3 of base times height. For prisms, it's just base times height, and that's what we just did. So it doesn't get much more difficult from problem to problem. And they got the same answer. So this is a prism. It is not a pyramid. Remember, with these, you need to act as though this side right here is now up here, and that this face right here is on the bottom. This is a triangular prism, so this triangle down here, that is our base. That's what we need to find the area of. So I know this is a prism. I know the volume formula for prisms is volume equals base times height. I know the shape of the base was a triangle, so draw a triangle. And I know how to find the area of a triangle. Area equals base times height divided by 2. Okay, so I was able to answer all 4 questions. That's all I needed to solve for the solution. So I see that the base of my triangle is 7, and it's 5 feet tall. So I do 7 times 5 divided by 2. And I get 35 divided by 2, and that equals 17.5. Okay? So now I just plug this into capital B, because that's what capital B is, the area of our base. And I get volume equals 17.5 times our height. Now, if you were to say this rectangular face down here was our base, you would say that the shape is 5 feet tall. But remember, we're standing it up on the triangular face. So in reality, this line right here, this 10-foot line, is actually how tall the shape is, since we're standing it up on this triangular face. So the height is actually 10 feet. Okay? So now you just do 17.5 times 10, and you get 175 feet cubed. And that's my answer. So it's going to be the same process over and over and over again to solve for volume. Really, the only case that's different than the other ones is this triangular prism right here. And then you got 175 as well. Okay, now we're on to pyramids. So even if it didn't tell me that it was a pyramid, I see that it has only one base down here, and all 4 lines come up to one single vertex. That meets the definition of a pyramid, so I know it's a pyramid. I know the formula to find the volume of a pyramid is V equals capital BH divided by 3. I know the shape of its base just by looking at it. Looks like a rectangle. And I know the formula for the area of a base is just area equals BH, or base times height. So I'm good to go. Answer my 4 questions, I'm ready. So now I just do area equals 3.2 times 1.4 and that equals 4.48. So that's what I'm going to plug into my capital B, my volume formula. So volume is going to be equal to 4.48 times, and then I know from the base of my triangle or pyramid to the very top of the pyramid is this length right here, 2.8 inches. So that's how tall my pyramid is, that's my height, and then divided by 3. So 4.48 times 2.8 is 12.54, and then divided by 3 is 4.18. And that's going to be inches cubed. So the volume is about 4.2 cubic inches. So here we have a triangular pyramid. So I know it's a pyramid. I know the volume formula for all pyramids is base times height divided by 3. I know the base shape is a triangle, and I know how to find the area of the base. That's going to be base times height divided by 2. So to find the area of the base, this face down here, we're going to do 8.1 times 6.4 divided by 2. And that's going to equal 25.9. So we've plugged that into our volume formula up here. We plug it in for capital B. So we get 25.9 times our height. Our height is 11 meters. That's that line right there. And then divided by 3, because that's our volume formula. So when I multiply 25.9 times 11, and then divide that by 3, I get 95.04, or just about 95. So 95 meters cubed. And that's my answer. So pretty easy stuff if you just follow these steps right here. Always answer these questions before you try to solve it. And another type of problem they may give you is working backwards. So on all those other problems, we had to find volume given the base and the height, or the height. Now they give us the volume and the base, or the information to find the area of the base, and we have to find the height. So that's what they do here. So first things first, make sure you know the volume formula for whatever shape it is. So here we see it's a pyramid. So that's what they do. They write down the formula. Volume equals 1/3 of base times height. Then they plug in the information that they have. it says right here that the volume is 90, so they replace V with 90. And then they know that the shape of the base is a rectangle, so they know they're going to do 5 times 9 to find the area. That's where this 9 and 5 came from. So now they've replaced all the other letters with numbers. All that's left is H. That's just like the one-step and two-step equations we did a few weeks ago, where as long as you only have one variable in an equation, you can solve for it. So we need to isolate H. So what they did, they skipped a few steps. They did 9 times 5 divided by 3. Well, 9 times 5 is just 45, and then 45 divided by 3 is 15. So they simplified all those operations down to 15. And they're left with 90 equals 15 times H. Well, if we're going to get H by itself on the right side, you have to do the opposite operation. So if this is 15 times H, we're going to divide both sides by 15 to isolate H, or get H by itself. So these 15s cancel out, and then 90 divided by 15 is just 6. So now that H is by itself, we know that H equals 6, or that the height is 6 inches. And that is all you have to do. And then here's another one. This one involves a little bit more math because the base is a triangle. The only way it's different from the last one is the way that they found the area of the base. So last time it was just 9 times 5, or the base times the height. But remember, the area of a triangle is 1/2 of the base times height. So they have 1/2 times 8 times 3. So they found the area of the base. Then you multiply that by 1/3, because that's the part of the formula to find volume of a pyramid. So they did all this math right here and ended up with 4. So 44 equals 4H. They're trying to isolate H, so they divide by 4 on both sides. 44 divided by 4 is just 11, and you're left with H. So the height of this pyramid is 11 meters. And that's it. Pretty simple stuff, guys. So good luck studying this weekend. And I'll see you on Monday or tomorrow.